If you're a hippie sort of person, you want to love everybody in the world equally. But if you're a more conservative, and the more conservative you get, the smaller your circle of concern gets. If you're deeply, deeply far right wing, then your notion of what counts as your people is very small. It's going to be confined to just your country or your race or your ethnic group. And then if you're even lower in your stage of development, let's say your spiral dynamic stage purple, it's going to be just your tribe. It's not even going to be your country. Like, for example, in the Middle East, you're not going to have a definition of people, the good people, as all Muslims. That actually takes a relatively high level of development to think so unitively as everybody who's a Muslim in the world is part of my tribe. No. In the Middle East, it's going to be much narrower. It's going to be even narrower than a single country. It's not going to be like, well, I'm an Iraqi and I want all of us Iraqis to do good. No, your love is too constrained to care about all Iraqis. All you care about is you care about the Sunni Iraqis in some particular little corner of that region of what we call Iraq. And your little tribe, it might be 1,000 people. You only care about those 1,000 people because those 1,000 people are the limits of your world. You didn't have the luxury of going to university where they taught you about different cultures and exposed you to Japanese food and Asian history and black people and Aboriginal people and Native American people. You didn't have this. You have to understand, somebody who grew up and barely survives in Iraq somewhere, in a little village in Iraq, this person only knows their little local tribe. They don't know other groups of people. They don't know other cultures. They've never eaten sushi. They've never met an Asian person in their life. They've never met a black person. Like their worldview is so limited. And so that defines the scope of what they care about and what they can love. And then also they're scared. And then later in life, when they are exposed to other cultures, let's say they're watching television or they travel to a different country as a refugee, they're going to be exposed to different cultures, different cuisines, different people, different customs and different languages, different religions, different ways of doing business, different ways of thinking, different types of books, different types of media. This is going to be very scary and threatening to such a person. It's going to feel like a threat on his religion, on his cultural customs, on his language, on his ideas of family, of children, of man and woman and how they're supposed to relate to each other, his sense of God and Allah. Because see, he has a very narrow version of what God is too. It's not even the Muslim God for this guy. It's a much narrower version because he's even going to be freaked out by other people who are Muslims in other countries having slightly different versions and conceptions of Islam or Allah. Even though fundamentally, all Muslims believe in the same Allah, but to Sunnis and Shiites, apparently that difference makes a big difference to them. Now, to us as Westerners sitting in America looking at that, we say, well, how silly, Sunni, Shia, who gives a fuck? I mean, they're all Muslims. It doesn't matter. You're praying to the same Allah. Can't you just get along? And the answer is absolutely not. Because these little differences become, what seemed like molehills become mountains when your sense of reality is very constrained and limited. And then you get ethnic cleansing and you get war and you get genocide from this. Because people are misunderstanding each other and they are ascribing bad intentions to each other. And we see this happening right now in American culture. See, this problem doesn't just happen in the Middle East somewhere in the middle of fucking nowhere. It happens in America too. We're seeing it right now. We're seeing huge polarization between the right wing and the left wing right now in America. And we're even seeing polarizations within those groups. Like within the right wing, you have a sort of a polarization between the never Trumpers and then the MAGA crowd or the alt-right. And then you have a polarization in the left wing between the neoliberal types and sort of the corporate Democrats, and then the progressives and the more socialist Marxist type of folk. And they're all fighting with each other, and they're all ascribing bad intentions to each other. Even within the left wing, you would think like, well, certainly all the people in the left wing should at least be able to see each other's good intentions, how everybody in the left wing is trying to do the best for the country that they perceive according to their worldview and their beliefs and their limitations. You know, they're trying to do the best for the country. But no, even that fails to land on many within the left wing. It's very common to see progressives who completely misunderstand the good intentions of the corporate Democrats because they're angry at them. And they don't really understand how somebody can be a corporate Democrat. Like a socialist Marxist type, Zoomer type, who's maybe 25 years old, can't fathom what it's like for a corporate Democrat who's 80 years old, like Nancy Pelosi or something. Her worldview. Can't fathom it. So he demonizes her and attributes negative intentions to her and calls her a grifter, calls her a sellout, calls her corrupt, all this sorts of stuff. You've seen all this on YouTube, right? And really believes that. This Marxist type of person really believes that. And conversely, someone like a Nancy Pelosi, when she looks at that Marxist kid, she doesn't understand where he's coming from. And maybe she attributes some bad intentions to him. I don't know. Certainly the corporate Democrats will demonize progressives to win elections and so forth. Right? And that's just within the left wing. Supposedly these people should all get along. They're all really close to each other, ideologically speaking. Now, but you see, what a socialist would say here is, Leo, how dare you even insinuate that I would have anything to do with Nancy Pelosi? Oh, she's disgusting to me. I'm not in her camp at all. How dare you lump us together? You see, but that's exactly what the Shiite would say against the Sunni, and the Sunni against the Shiite in Afghanistan or wherever in the Middle East. You see? It's going to be the same logic because your ego mind is drawing these boundaries and is defining what group you belong to or don't belong to. Every group you belong to, you need some enemy to differentiate that group, your group, from that other group. Gives you a sense of purpose to fight against them. And then this is survival. And then, of course, the situation is even worse when it comes to like progressives trying to understand the right wing or the alt-right. So they call them racists, and they call them sexists, and they call them misogynists, and all this sorts of Nazis and fascists and all this sorts of stuff. All this language really is just a cover for failing to understand the good intentions of the alt-right. And if you think the alt-right does not have good intentions, according to them, remember, there's no such thing as absolute good intentions here. It's all relative. So when we say good intentions, it's either according to you or according to them or according to me or somebody. It's relativistic. So the key delusion here is to think that there's some absolute notion of good intention. There isn't. There's no such thing as a good intention without an ego mind who is interpreting